Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Life with Loverly podcast. If you are in our monthly book club, you will be extra excited for this episode because Nichelle and I sat down with the author of our March book club book, BK Borison. BK is a contemporary romance author known for her cozy, emotionally vulnerable characters and swoon-worthy settings, with her debut novel being the viral book, Lovelight Farms. You guys know we love to read over here, so being able to sit down with one of our favorite authors is such a treat. We chatted with BK on how she started writing, all the things about her book, First Time Caller, that was inspired by Sleepless in Seattle, and some insider info on her upcoming book release. Here's my conversation with BK Borison. Hi, friends. Welcome back to today's episode of the Life with Loverly podcast. Nichelle and I are here with an author that we are so excited to talk to, BK Borison. Hi, how are you?
Good. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course, of course. Thanks so much for coming on. I know you have a lot going on right now. You just got back from a trip, right?
I did. Yes, I was in Los Angeles on, oh my gosh, what's today? Tuesday? I was in Los Angeles Friday and Saturday and then back to Baltimore on Sunday. So I've been whipping back and forth.
That's so crazy. Was it Romance Con? Is that what it was?
No, so Romance Con will be in Milwaukee in
Oh,
September, I believe.
okay.
This was HarperCollins did a special like influencer trip for members of the bookish community, and then I was just there. I don't know how I got there, but I was just there to have a good time. So
I think I saw something about this on an Audible narrator's Instagram. She was like
Oh,
talking about, I think it was the same thing, but that's really exciting though that you were
it
there.
was great. Yeah, it was I got to connect. I love connecting with readers because so often this job is me alone in my office,
Yeah.
tip tapping away. So actually talking to people is always it's always a nice thing to do.
and you came
Right.
back with a little fun memorabilia on your body.
Ooh, a
I
new
had
tattoo?
flash tattoos. Yeah, I got a little bow to add to my collection. It's a little
So
Oh,
cute.
cute. And I love that placement. I have like a few on
Yeah,
my arms,
yeah,
like up
same.
there too.
collecting them now. My husband was like, "Where did you go?" I was
Yeah.
like, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah. You're like, it's
Exactly.
fine.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. Okay. So you are now a New York Times bestselling author, which is so amazing, with 5 published books and one on the way later this year. But just 5 years ago, this wasn't the case. Take us back to 2020 when you decided, okay, I'm going to sit down and write a book. Now is the right time. Like, how did you get started? Talk us through it.
So I've always written on the side of
Yeah.
my jobs have always been writing based. Like I was a copywriter for a while. I worked in social media. I was a creative director, and so it's always been creative minded work. And then COVID happened,
Hmm.
and my husband is a physician. So we are in California in one of the surge cities,
Oh gosh.
and so I never saw my husband. He was just gone for weeks at a time because he would sleep at the hospital, and then
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had just had, our baby, our first little girl, and because we were so concerned about her catching COVID that
Yeah.
it was just didn't see each other at all, so I was alone a lot with a baby, and it was really isolating and sad and lonely, and so I was like, "Why don't I try to just write s" Lovelight was so much of me just wanting a place to escape to that felt good and comforting, um, and I started writing this original story for the first time. Um, and just, it was very indulgent for me to find a place to disappear into during a time that was very isolating. And I didn't have any goals with it or no expectations. I was like, we'll just
Yeah.
see. And Amazon has a self publish platform called Kindle Unlimited. And so, or Kindle Direct Publishing. You can just upload your stuff. And I was like, we'll see what happens. And I uploaded it, and then a lot of stuff happened since
Yeah.
then. And it was kind of wild. I mean, it's still wild. It hasn't caught, none of it's caught up to me. I just can't believe that I get to do this for my job now.
Yeah. It's such a, do you ever feel like things are just rolling so quickly and you have to take a step back and be like, Wait a second. I have how many books out now? Like it sort of is like what is like the pinch me moment that's happening every day.
I it with this book, especially with First Time Caller, it's definitely been like the most explosive of my
Yeah.
books in terms of reaction. And so like everything that happens is just like my agent will call and I'll be like, what? What's happening? When it hit the New York Times, even like I was trying so hard to like maintain like keep expectations low, and like my team was really great about never saying anything about it. And so but even when you tell yourself like it's not going to happen, you have that hope like
Yeah.
maybe something will happen with this one. And so it was like around that time of day, I was getting my daughter ready for her swim lessons. And she did not care that mommy was having a career milestone.
Right. They don't
Don't-
understand.
No.
no. Uh, and my phone lit up with an unfamiliar number, and again, it was, like, trying not to hope, but hoping, and it was my, editor from Berkeley with the news, and my daughter was just like, "Can I have this candy? Can we go to swim?" Like, and just chattering away, so it was this really I think for that was such a strange moment of, like, my life as mom and my life as a writer, like, just parallel mo like, it felt like
Yeah.
a weird this huge thing that I couldn't even like, not even brave enough to dream for making the New York Times. And then my daughter just wants Fun Dip and to
Yeah.
go to
Right.
swim.
Well, and it's funny because I feel like so many moms who have these like career aspirations can so relate to that, where it's like, hey, this like huge thing just happened at work, but I'm also like wanting to be present and take my kid here. Like the overlap, I feel like, especially in the creative world, and as you know, it just is like sometimes you just kind of have to do it all. And it's really beautiful and messy and like crazy.
Would
But it still deserves that pat on the back that like, whoa, like this
Yeah.
is wild.
And it's so
Yeah.
crazy hearing like your like thought process going into the launch of that book because on the outside I I love to read and I am waiting for the next thing to come out. I'm like
Yeah.
listening and your book was on the radar so early in the game. I heard through a lot of people I guess who had gotten arcs and people who I trust and they were like you're going to die when you get this in your hands. Like Aiden and Lucy are goals, you know? And
Yeah.
so I remember telling her at the end of the year, I was like, look, we did Lovelight Farms in November for our book club, and we introduced like our book community to you. But then I was like, we're doing her again in February when this one comes out because I know this is going to hit. This is going to hit after reading Lovelight Farms series. I was like, there's no way that she can do wrong at this point. So just hearing from the other side, you were like, well, I hope it does good, you know?
Yeah, it's just and it was wild with the before, like, it felt different. Like, usually
Yeah.
before a book launch, it like, you can see that people are excited about a book, but this one was like, the reaction to it was different. Like, it
Mhm.
felt different from my team, from my agent, from, like, readers online on social
Yeah.
media and stuff. It just felt and then you start getting in your head, like, I was working on another book at the time, and I was like, "Oh god, I hope this book's okay."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you build expectations, and now people are I'm the goal always is to reach a bigger audience, but, like, you reach a bigger audience, and you're like, "Oh, no, there's more people to disappoint now." So
Yeah.
Right.
I know I'm getting
Mhm.
so off topic, but just like speaking about it, I think that you hit such a sweet spot of like the nostalgia that's in this
Mhm.
book.
Mhm.
That was the sweet spot. You had several different points in the book that just hit home for I think so many of us where we were like, memes. There are so many good memories, you know, attached to
Yeah.
this scene right here that you created. So yeah,
I know.
amazing.
And I always, it's so, I feel like I would love to be inside the mind of an author because I don't even understand like how these stories can get created, but then like so much forethought, but then so much like connection to other books if it's a series. Like it's such a beautiful process
Yeah.
that I'm always like, how do people do this?
It's a wild process too because, I try to I can't explain it. Like, I don't know how
Right.
it happens in here. It's just, like, I feel like the best place to get to as a writer is where you're not aware of when you're writing. You're sort of,
Yeah.
like, in, like, subspace, for lack of a better term, of just, like, you're floating along and just sort of, like, writing. That's the best place to be in.
Yeah.
And I feel like for this book, the whole process was completely, like, just floating along and writing the book. And so it felt really magical, even drafting it and like writing it. Um, and so I'm glad that readers could feel that when they read the book.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
absolutely.
So your first three books were self-published, and I know
Mhm.
you had a close friend of yours step in as your pseudo editor, working
Mhm.
alongside your bestie. Is the dream of writing a book? Sounds like just kind of like amazing situation, you know?
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how you two pulled off creating such masterpieces without transitioning to a publishing house?
Well, that's very nice to say masterpieces.
I
It's very
mean,
gracious of you. Um, so yeah, when I started writing, my best friend Annie, who I have been friends with her for a decade, she loves romance. I love romance. It's something we've always connected over. And I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about writing a romance book." She's like, "Awesome, do it. I'm gonna read it and tell you what I think." And so it was sort of fun. Like I had no professional experience drafting a novel. She had no professional experience editing it, but we both had this deep love for the genre and the community. And so approaching it that way and just two best friends who love
yeah,
talking about this stuff. Um, and what's been so great about doing this with Annie is like, as like still my best friend, she still reads everything I write before I send it to my publisher, which is probably annoying to my publishers. Annie's already looked at it and Annie thinks it's okay.
She says it's
Uh,
fine.
Annie said it's fine. But it's been such a magical part of all of this that I get to have my best friend with me,
yeah,
and she's so supportive of everything, and it's like, no matter what happens, she's like, "When I made the New York Times," she's like, "Yeah, I'm not surprised." Like, she's just like she is such a wonderful person to have in my corner, and she comes with me to, like, the book conferences and stuff, and
That's cool.
she came with me on tour, so getting to share that with her specifically, um, has been such a special thing out of all of
yeah.
it. Like, our relationship has changed, like, we have this new different thing that we get to do together as a part of
Mhm.
our lives together, so, that's been really special for me. Love having Annie with me.
Yeah, no kidding. Just like that growth in your friendship too, you know? I mean,
Mhm.
like you've been friends for so long and it's like this next cool adventure is like a great place to go together.
And we get to, like, travel to she lives in St. Louis, and Novel Neighbor, which is a big romance store, is in, St. Louis,
Okay.
and so now I have an excuse to see her twice a
Yes.
year. I get to go out I'm like, "Oh, we should stop in St. Louis for a tour so I can see Annie." And
Yeah.
so
I love that. Did she help you with the marketing of the book and help like it take off on Book Talk, or was that all you?
I mean, she had ideas on term, but she's mainly done like the editing and the story piece. And the marketing and social media has always been something that I've been really passionate about doing. Like I said, I come from like a creative brand background, and so I still have a lot of thoughts and feelings about how to like market things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like bandwidth is probably very annoying to my publishers. But yeah, it was wild. I really just decided one day I'm going to write a book. And I didn't do like, I researched how to publish it, like logistically, but I didn't have a social media account for the author stuff. I didn't like have this huge, robust launch plan. Um, I just did it. And then here we are today.
Yeah. I love that so much. So, when you hear songwriters sometimes when they can't say something like to somebody, sometimes they write those things in lyrics, like in their songs.
Mhm.
Do you feel like as a writer that you tend to do a lot of that, things you probably can't say or you're scared to say, but you'll put them in your books?
Oh, yeah. Like, and I don't think I realize it until I'm halfway through a book, like, "Oh, I'm working through something right now."
Yeah. It's
Like,
almost
"Oh,
like
that was"
therapeutic, right?
yeah, I was like, "That was bothering me apparently."
You're like this character has that same issue that like
Yes.
How
we're working
weird.
through.
How is she gonna figure this part out?
I know, my husband reads my books, and sometimes he'll, like, read something, and he'll look at me, and he'll be like, "Is this about" I'm like, "Yeah." So,
Sure is.
it's been great for our relationship too, because it feels like I've been with my husband for 15 years almost, and it feels like he's seeing a different part of my brain through my writing and getting to know me
Yeah.
in a different way, so that's been great for our relationship and just, like, opening a different more vulnerable part of myself with someone who knows me so well
Yeah.
and can see something different in my books than most people do.
Yeah. Is that hard for you to kind of like let him in and see? I know it's probably easier with your friend, right?
Yeah, because she with your girlfriends,
Mm-hmm.
they get all the unfiltered bits,
Yeah.
but with your partner sometimes, I don't know, it was just a different sort of intimacy, I feel like, and I when he was reading the first book, I was, like, sweating, like, I
Yeah.
was, like, just, like, holding my face, watching him read it. I was like, it just and now it's a lot easier for me. He brought First Time Caller, we went on vacation, and he was reading it, and I wasn't having a meltdown next to him, so
Right.
we've we've grown, we've evolved.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, but it is still difficult, especially when, like, I know there's something in the book that he's gonna identify.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, it can be, but it's also now it's like now I know how he and like how he moves through it, and so like I feel safe when he
Yeah.
Yeah.
giving him that piece of it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Do you have a special place that you enjoy to write? You probably have to have like a special like scene set up, right?
Sometimes it's funny because we moved into this house last summer,
Mm.
and we made this beautiful office that I love. You can see I have my little wallpaper ceiling.
Love
So
it.
Love a wallpaper ceiling.
Yes.
we made it like very aesthetic and like my dream office. And like I'll be sitting in here sometimes. I'm like, I can't write in here.
Yeah.
It I find, like, when I'm crunched for time, like, when the baby's about to wake up from a nap or I have to go pick up my daughter from school, that's usually when I'm the most efficient with writing, when I have to, like, wedge it into these smaller spaces.
Yeah.
Um, or, like, if I'm on the couch or on the front porch, I move around a lot, to jumpstart my brain. I say to jumpstart my brain, but probably just to procrastinate
Yeah.
writing.
It's so funny because I feel like sometimes as creatives, we like want to just be like free and like have, all this space and time. But it really like some of the best work comes when it's like, I have 1 hour to do this, and this. And like, it's like everything you've trained for is like coming into this 1 hour.
Well, it's to your
So I
point.
did
Like, I think because we procrastinate. That's
Yeah.
what we do as creatives.
We're professional
That's
procrastinators.
That's such a good point though, because so my son is 10 months. Um, right after my daughter started preschool, I wasn't pregnant. She was in preschool for the first time. I had just left my corporate job and I was doing writing full time. So I had this whole day to write and nothing would happen because I just feel like I have so much, like I
Yeah.
have
What should
this
I do
wide
next?
yeah. And it wasn't until I got pregnant and I was like, there's a ticking clock over my
Mhm.
head where I'm like, I'm only going to have 9 months to be efficient. And so, and now with my son with home with me during the day, it's like nap times. I'm crushing out words
Yeah.
that I wasn't doing when I had the whole day in front of me.
Right.
Yeah.
There's something to it. I mean, I feel like that. I felt like that today when
Oh my
I
gosh.
had like timelines and I was like, I've got to knock something out before I come do this interview and like I will make it happen. And
Can we tell her
it
what happened?
Sure.
Can we tell you a funny story?
Yes. I love it.
So, okay, we have a team of 16 now here in the office. And obviously, Brittany is an influencer.
I'm
She's
like the face of everything.
yeah. So we're all behind the scenes. And she has been doing this since 2016. So there's a lot of eras of Brittany that have happened over the years, in fashion. So we decided we were going to do an April Fool's prank today. And we each dressed up as an era of Brittany. We had blonde wigs on. I bought the over the knee suede boots from 2017
Yes.
with the fur vest.
The attention to detail.
This is
I
wig
mean,
hair right here.
They all had wigs in. I walk in and I see like one of the girls out of the corner of my eye and I was like, what is she doing? And knowing that it was April Fool's, I didn't really even like think that y'all would
You were
pull
like,
anything.
why the hell is she wearing sunglasses inside?
Literally. And then I look around and they're all in wigs that look like me. They all looked like me in just different eras. And I'm like, what is happening?
Meanwhile, we lied about your recording being at 10:30 and the whole time I'm not a good liar. And I'm like, yeah, she has to record at 10:30 now. It's fine. Like, if you can just come, we can like let you go between, this and your 3 o'clock recording. I'm lying my pants off the whole time. She's like, I have so much to do.
Yeah, I got it done though.
You have a new uniform for the office. Just everybody has to
Yes.
dress up as you every day.
Exactly. I mean, I think we're going to put those wigs to use somehow.
Look, I have content for days on Life with Love Really now. So
It was hilarious, but anyway.
that was our day. A bunch of
What
creatives
a great
over
start to
here.
the day.
Yeah.
I
I was
know.
like, we have work to do, but like this is fun. So
Well, and my husband works with us, and so he was in on it, and I had no idea. And apparently, he's in some of the content too. I'm like, now I'm just like waiting to see, like, what all did you guys do? Like, what's happening? So,
yeah.
anyway,
Okay. Anyway, sorry. I thought we'd let you in on that. Cover art. Okay, so this is something that you shared recently in Instagram in your feed. You were saying that, there were a couple of options for cover art for first time caller and like you had a hard time. To walk us through the process. Like how does that even work for a book?
Sure. So I am very lucky in that I'm passionate about the cover art. And I was very upfront with Berkeley when I got acquired that I still want a voice in that process. And luckily, probably they're like regretting this, but basically when we start a book, there's a meeting at Berkeley headquarters where my editor represents the book to there's a bunch of people who have input on what a cover looks like, the sales team, retailer representatives, the art department, design teams, everyone
Wow.
goes into a room and they have like a cover pitch session. And my editor will sort of pitch my vision and my concept for the cover. And I usually put together like a mood board, color palettes, things I want to see, and then a short list of artists I want to work with. And I felt very like Machiavellian about the first time caller cover because I knew I wanted it to be Miriam, who was the artist who did the design work. And so like a couple months before I knew this meeting was coming up, I kept being like, I'm working with Miriam on this initiative and I'm working on Miriam on this initiative. And I would show them different things and I didn't need their input or approval or anything. I just kept showing them. And then it came around time where like they usually identify the artists that are available to work on a cover. And Miriam was one of them. I'm like, oh, what a good idea. Let's work with Miriam.
Yeah.
you're like, who would have
She
thought?
just happens to be free.
Yeah. What a great thought. And so when Miriam is so special because she just like she gets it. Like she can look at a mood board and I can tell her like early 90s 2000s rom-com nostalgia. I love the way she integrates color into her work, just the level of detail.
Mhm.
And so Miriam, from that point, like once we have an artist, once we have a mood board, and overall like vibey things, and what the story is about, Miriam will sort of take it from there. And she came back with, I think, 6 different sketches, and that's not typical. Typically, you see like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Miriam in all things is incredible, so she had 6. And then we sort of dial it down from there. We're going through that same process right now for the second book cover in the series. And again, she sent 6 sketches that are just like I stare at them and I was like, I don't know what like I want all of them
Yeah.
in one.
Yeah.
And then you go through like refining really small details like eye color and hair color and accessories and the way one person is leaning and moving. I think we moved like 8-inch shoe over slightly like an inch and just like silly stuff like that.
I love it. I love the one where they were upside down. That was
I
so
know
cute. I mean,
that one.
you couldn't go wrong with any of them, honestly.
That one was very close to I think I said yes to that one first, and then I, like, panicked, and it was like, "No, actually, this one."
And those of you who are watching like on Spotify, like this is what the end result was. It's
Yeah.
so freaking
So
adorable.
great.
I really truly feel like it captured this entire story.
Truly, and that's such a special thing as an author to feel like your cover is a solid representation of the story that's within the pages, and so I tell Miriam all the time, "You can't ever leave me, Miriam."
Yeah.
So,
Right?
uh and it's great too because the cover creation process is very like I give my input and then they'll come back to me a couple weeks later and show me what they have and then I'll give my input and they'll come back to me. But Miriam, because we're friends, She'll send me little updates on the side, and I'm just like my brain is like, "Yes, thank God."
Right?
Get check-ins, and so
So we have a book club, obviously, that we run. I think we've been doing it for what, 2 gosh,
Yeah.
it's been 2
2
years
years
now.
probably.
Yeah, so we have like another channel. We've brought it into Life with Loverly. It's called Books We Loverly, you know, because, but like we said, First Time Caller was our book last month. You touch on how the inspiration was pulled from Sleepless in Seattle, and that
Mhm.
was your inspiration, and it was your favorite movie growing up. Do you remember the moment
Mhm.
when you first watched the movie?
I got a DVD. I rented it from the library or borrowed it from the library, like you used to be able to do. Because remember that summer, I was very cool in high school. And that summer I was working through like 100 movies, like the AMC 100 movies you should watch or
Oh
something.
yeah.
I had so many plans that I just watched 100 movies.
Again,
Um,
we were so cool, right?
so cool. So cool. And I remember it was like an afternoon and like my windows were open in my bedroom. I was like laying in my bed watching this movie and it was that monologue scene with Tom Hanks talking about magic and I was just crying my eyes out. Um, and I had never had rom-com, although it feels silly, just almost silly to call it a rom-com, but, like, I never had a rom-com affect me so deeply, like,
Mhm.
or a monologue touch me so deeply, um, and I just, I knew I wanted one day to make people feel that way, and so the hope with these books and the series is that while the plot is different than Sleepless in Seattle. There's some, parallel points between the 2, and the hope is that the overall feeling of the book matches the overall feeling you get when you watch the movie.
Yeah, I
I
would
love
concur.
it.
That is how it felt. It was
There are just
so
so
good.
many parts that was just like, "Ah, oh my gosh, I can't believe," like you
Again,
just
it's like hitting the nostalgia of it all, and I'm like old. But there were so many, like, come on, the thong song.
I know.
And not
Dead.
enough people bring that up. Like, I feel like when I wrote that, I was like, "People are gonna, like, love this," and, like, not enough people bring up the thong song.
Can I tell you that's like the number one thing I think I bring up every time I was like the thong song. But it's
I
like because
know.
it happens after this moment where Aiden goes running after Lucy.
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah,
trying to go after her because he's like, oh gosh, she just got stood up. I
I
can't let that
know.
happen. Like, and they have this moment in the bar, and then this song comes on, and she's just like feeling so
It was like you
good.
could
And
tell that's what they were like really both needed
yeah,
was that whole scene and then the thong song coming in and just like it's like one of those when you hear that at a bar, you're dancing and then it's like, yes, like
well, I had my own memories of the thong
yeah.
song. We took a 13-hour overnight drive to Miami when I was in high school, and that was the song of the summer. And for some reason, I think I hit repeat and fell asleep. And my friend's brother had to listen to it for like 8 hours straight.
There are worse things than Cisco.
I know, right?
Literally.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, again, it was the moments of nostalgia, I think, are what made this such a cozy, like, feel good. I will not forget this book.
Yeah,
I won't.
I know. It was like such a, I listened to it. I can't remember. Did you read it
I
or
read
listen?
it.
Okay. And for me, it was like, I usually listen to books when I'm like either driving or like doing some things around the house. And I kept finding myself being like, I should go get gas now. Like, I'm almost done this chapter. Or like, I'm just going to like vacuum again really fast, or like, you guys watch this movie. I'm almost done this chapter
Yeah.
because it was just I couldn't put it down.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I think a lot of people felt like that.
A lot of people. I'm hearing the same
Hmm.
kind of feedback. So, do you feel like you relate more to Aiden or Lucy in this book?
Oh gosh. What I love about Aiden and Lucy so much is like they at first glance they look like true opposites from one another, but really it's just like they want the same things, they're hopeful for the same things, but they just handle it in completely different ways. Lucy has sort of just told herself that like it's okay, it's not something I need. While Aiden's like, I don't want it, I don't need
Yeah.
it. But secretly hope, like he needs affection. He wants affection. He wants to fall in love. So I think personally, probably shades of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I was, it's been many moons since I've been single. But I remember when I was younger thinking like the same way Lucy, like I didn't have a relationship or partner in my life, but thinking like, it's okay. I have all these other things. I think a lot of people have very full lives and are okay with that and
Yeah.
thinking like I have everything I need. Not having some of the things I want is okay.
Yeah.
But Lucy sort of flipping that switch and saying, but I'm gonna go out and look for it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Um, being brave enough there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like would you ever want this book to become a movie or a TV series?
I would love that. I think it's everyone's like every writer's like
Yeah,
secret dream to sort of see it, you know, made into something that reaches more people.
totally.
Uh, and for my Baltimore loving heart, I would love to see the city I love featured in a way that's not when you tell people you're from Baltimore, people always go, "Oh, The Wire." And so like there's other part, but The Wire is a phenomenal.
Yeah.
However, there's a romanticism to the city that a lot of people don't ever get to experience. So I think
Yeah.
for me to be able to see Baltimore highlighted in that way would be really special.
Yeah.
Yeah. You, my friend, have a new book coming out in October.
I do. Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to tell everybody about it?
Sure. I didn't have enough to do. So I
Right.
decided to start 2 series this year. Heartstring series, which the first book was First Time Caller. It's the first of 3 books, and each of those books were released in the first half of the year. But in the second half of the year, I have this other series. It's called the Ghosted series. It's also 3 books, and it's different for me. I it's labeled paranormal, but I like to call it magical realism. The first book in the series is called Good Spirits, and it's about the ghost of Christmas past,
Mhm.
who is assigned to haunt this woman for the holiday season. But when he gets there, she's a really lovely, kind human being. And he's like, well, why am I here? And she's like, well, I certainly don't know why you're here. And the story is them trying to figure out what is it in her past that is holding him to her before he can move forward and she can move on. And the concept for this series is that there's a department of hauntings and spirits. And Nolan, the ghost in the book, he's a part of the office of holiday spirits. And each book will sort of be a peek into a different office in this bureaucratic afterlife.
Fun.
That's cool.
It's sort of like The Good Place um, meets practical magic. It's very grounded in our world, in like a contemporary world, but there's also these like flashes of magic.
I love that.
That's
I love
cool.
that so much. Somebody like explained it. Do you know who V.E. Schwab is?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Every,
So when I talked to her last year, I had asked her, I was like, what advice would you give somebody who only reads romance to read your book? And she writes primarily fantasy. And she said, I would challenge you and everyone else to think that at some point in every book, you tip your toe into fantasy because it is make believe. And so, like,
Absolutely.
when I heard you say, like, I don't want to say paranormal, I'm like, well, every book is make believe. You know what I mean? Like, and so you
Yeah.
could think of it that way. But I am so excited. I'm a fantasy girly anyway, so I love the
Like a
magic
little dip in.
aspect of it. So I'm really excited about this. I think that
I'm excited too. If I had this concept for probably as long as when I wrote Lovelight, I knew I wanted to write a book like this. And it just never felt like the right time. And then I was in New York with my agent and we were having lunch and she was like, oh, we had just wrapped Lovelight. And she was like, well, what do you want to work on? And I was like, well, I have this idea about ghosts. And she was like, okay. And I was like, the ghost of Christmas past. And she was like, okay. Like she was like,
She was like,
she was
what
not
else?
because yeah, she was like, what? She was like, okay. And I was like, but I'm really bad at pitching concepts because they're so twisted up here in my brain. So I was like, let me just write a little bit and then you can look at it. And she loved it. The original concept was past, present, future for the 3-book series. And she suggested we move away from 3 Christmas ghosts, and so the other 2 won't be holiday related, but, yeah, it's fun. It's fun for me to sort of, after writing a contemporary, which is so grounded in, like,
Yeah.
our rules and our world, to move to something where I get to make up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been
I
really great
know.
for me creatively.
I
Use
mean,
your
you could
imagination.
have just told her that it is about an Irish ghost with a slutty little mustache, and I'm pretty sure that she
You
probably would have been
know? You know what converted her? When I was like, "It's ghosts," and she's like, "Okay." And I was like, "Christmas ghost." She's like, "Okay." And then I was like, "It's about he," I was like, "He's an Irish fisherman," and she's like,
like,
"Okay."
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was
Now
like,
we're
"You got
getting
it."
somewhere, right?
I know, I figured out how to play to Kim's weaknesses.
Those like visual like things that are already starting to be like, oh,
She's
okay.
like, "All right, okay. Tell me more about this
Right?
Irish."
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we're really excited about that. That'll probably be on our October
I know. So,
TBR.
okay, so are all 3 of those books coming out this year, or just the first one of that series will be out this year and the rest will come out later?
Yep, the first one
Okay.
of this series. So every year for the next 3 years, there'll be a
Okay.
Heartstrings early and there'll be a Ghosted late. So it will be
Okay.
2 books a year.
Okay,
That's
that's so
great to
exciting.
hear.
Okay, so we have a lot of creatives that listen to this show. And I think as creatives, we can all get in our own way sometimes by getting stuck in our heads. Do you
Mhm.
experience these creative blocks or moments of insecurity? And if so, what helps you to get out of that funk and keep going?
Very much so, yes. I would say probably the biggest creative block of my life has been happening for the past, oh God, 4 months. Right when first time callers started like slipping into the world, and I started seeing feedback for it. I came with this like bone deep fear that I'll
Hmm.
never write anything good again. Because writing first time caller was such a magical experience of like this creative space where I wasn't like I didn't feel like I had to work for it. It just happened.
Yeah,
Um, and then I had a baby. And I don't think I gave myself enough time and grace to be like, your brain is not what it normally you just had a baby. Like, let's
right.
give ourselves a break. So I had my son, and then I just went full into like, you're going to draft this book. It's going to be perfect. It's going to be just as good as first time caller. And I put so much expectation on myself to perform
Yeah,
a first draft. Like I was telling myself the first draft had to be perfect even. And so I was just like, and I don't think I realized until when I got edits back on this draft that I turned in. I don't think I realized like how much I was twisting myself up
yeah,
to get this perfect thing out. I got the I was so tired of this book. I was like, I just sent it to my editor. I was like, this is the worst thing I've written. I hate it. I don't want to look at it ever again. And she sent it back and she's like, okay, so it's not the worst thing you've ever written. And then of course I was like, well, what is the worst thing you've ever
yeah. What are you
but
trying to
I
say
think
here?
yeah, so and now, we're working on fixing it and making it better as part of the process. That's always what the process is,
Yeah,
that I put so much on myself to perform that it just wasn't happening. And I think when I took a step back and I allowed myself to like just be like, how about you just write a story that you like and go
right.
from there instead of looking so far ahead at how is it going to be received or how will it stack up compared to first time caller. Just letting it be its own thing. And that's now it's all starting to like untwist and my brain is starting to like come alive again.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's so important to like you said, like giving yourself grace. And life is obviously like still happening around you, and for those of you listening who are creatives kind of feeling in the funk too, like sometimes it just takes like okay, like
Yeah.
little mini pep talk, lots of grace and like moving forward. Um but yeah, it's such an interesting like place to be up here sometimes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's not the thing you want to hear when you're stuck. Like, give it
No.
time and it'll come back. Because when you're waiting, like, okay, it's been an hour. Where is it?
Yeah.
Like, it's so when you're waiting for something to come back to you, I don't know. It's just, and usually when that happens, I try to give myself space to like read things that inspire me or watch things that inspire me.
Yeah.
Um, But it's a wild thing. Creativity comes and goes.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel, obviously you were in like the social media space before this, but do you feel like as social media has evolved since really 2020 even, like there's any pressure to like keep up in the book talk community, or anything like that?
I think, yeah, very much so. I think especially since I started in the indie sphere where you're very engaged with your audience and
Yeah.
connected. Um, as my books have sort of reached larger audiences, it almost feels like I need to be just as connected, which just isn't possible.
Yeah.
Especially with my kids and life outside of work and maintaining healthy boundaries with people. I think when you create books that really resonate and connect with other people, I think sometimes people think there's that weird parasocial relationship sometimes where people think they know you and like
Right.
they want to connect. And so holding boundaries in place for myself and for my own like wellness has been a lesson learned over the past couple years. But it's also I really genuinely love social media. Like I love connecting with people that way. Like I said, this job is very isolating when you're drafting. It's rewarding to see how people are connecting to your work, and social media is the easiest way to see that.
Yeah.
Mm.
So true.
What was the last book that you read?
The last book that I read, I'm looking at my shelf. I just put a bunch of books away this morning. What is the last book that I read? Oh, I read People Watching by Hannah Bonham Young. It comes out this fall.
Okay.
It's
Ooh,
um right
love it.
now
Let's write that
I'm
down.
actively I'm actively drafting. So I don't read a lot while
Yeah.
I'm drafting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite trope to read?
I love a fated mates. I always think those are very romantic. I also love a one bed situation.
Always. That's like that line that we were talking about, like old school, whenever you'd photo dump on Facebook and you'd always have like a tagline for like the weekend. It was like an inside joke.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a one bed situation.
Get
It's
it.
just always.
Okay, I have a question about picking narrators to read your audibles. What is that process like?
I am not involved in that process at all.
Okay, so that's so interesting because like I've always like I wonder if the author
Like who
is
picks him?
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you feel connected to a way like the person reads or something? But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's a whole audio production department at Berkeley at Penguin Random House. And I usually send over notes like slight southern accent or I don't know, like slow speaker. Like usually I have ideas in my head
Yeah.
of what I want the characters to sound like, but honestly, that is like I didn't even know with the first time caller audiobook that they were doing the duet narration in
Yeah.
between the radio. I had no idea until someone told me that because I still haven't listened to the book. So it's funny because it's just like the separate machine that moves. There's so much that's happening with the release of a book that I think if I wanted to be involved, I could be.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm happy to let the professionals
You're like,
do
Totally.
it's
the
one less thing, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I always wonder, like, when you like listen to a book for the first time, if you're like, oh, that's exactly how I imagined
Mhm.
like that scene to go, or this is the emphasis they put on it there. Feels like kind of like a whole other layer to making the book as well.
I do struggle with listening to my own audios because of for that reason, because
Yeah,
it's such a certain way in my head. So I tend not to listen to the audio because I don't
I get
Yeah.
that.
want to.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like that about the podcast. I'm like, nope, I was already there. I
Yeah, we were
already
there. We
heard
don't need to
it.
hear
Like,
that. Yeah.
Yep, I know what happens. I'm good with it.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I would love to ask this question. What advice would you give a first time writer?
I always tell people who are sitting down to I think it's so easy to fall in this space where you're trying to create something that people want to read. And so I always tell writers to write a book that you want to read and write a book that you want to sink into and that you want to experience. Because I think if you do that, if you're writing something that you love and you want to be within, then readers will find something within it to resonate with as well.
I love
That's
that.
great. Okay, we're going to wrap up. This has been so amazing. I have one question that I ask all of my guests at the end, and that is, what was the most meaningful act of kindness that somebody has extended to you that has had a lasting impact on your life?
So I was thinking about this before the show, and I'm gonna try not to cry, but I'm probably gonna cry because I'm an emotional girly. After I had my son, I think when you have babies, I feel like we don't talk enough about. Everyone says motherhood is magical and special, but I don't think enough people talk about how hard it is,
Yeah.
and how right after you have a baby, there's this complete. It feels like a loss of your identity as an individual because you just turn into mom, um, mom who is in service to all of your children, one of your children. You turn into this sort of feels like a being that just cares for other people, and you sort of lose who you were before. And I think that's a magical thing. I also think it's kind of a terrible thing that
Yeah.
happens. And I really struggled after the birth of my son. I struggled after my daughter, but with my son, for some reason, it just felt like I wasn't ready for it to happen a second time.
Yeah.
And I was in a Trader Joe's, and I was going through, my son was strapped to my chest and my daughter was yapping away. And I was just getting groceries, and maybe something in my face or my overall being was just giving, I'm defeated. I don't know. But there's this older woman, she must have been like 80, and she came up to me and she just grabbed my hands and she said, "You're doing a good job." And ugh, I'm getting emotional thinking. I don't think we tell enough mothers how good they're doing, how well
Yeah.
they're doing. Um, I think I just think women aren't appreciated enough for all the invisible work that they do and all the care and love they pour into their children. And so after having my son and having someone, a stranger, just see that and
Yeah.
like be so kind to say something, that moment for sure.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that.
I know. It's so true.
It
Cause like
is.
think about, I feel like
Mhm.
there's been times I've been in a store where I'm like, oh, I really want to go help, but like, do they want me to help? And it's like, I think most time everybody would just say like, yes, like just go, like they want to be seen
Yeah.
that, you know?
Or just like a kind word. Like, and
Yeah.
now when I'm out and I see other parents, I'm like, "You're doing a good job. You're doing
Yeah.
okay. Like,
Yeah.
you're
You've
you're
got
doing great.
this.
You're doing the best you can." Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so relatable. That is so relatable.
Totally.
Mm.
Um,
This has been delightful.
I know. I'm so excited for the future books.
I know. Me too.
Gonna have
I'm
to get
so
those
excited.
on the book club list.
They're already on there.
Also, our book club girlies are like kind of freaking out about this interview.
They
They
are.
are all so excited that we're having this conversation. So again, just thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This has been great. This has been wonderful.
Can you tell our listeners where they can find you on Instagram, on TikTok, all the places?
Sure. So I'm almost chronically on Instagram, which is probably not a good thing. But I'm at author BK Borison. That's my handle across all social platforms. But I'm definitely the most active on Instagram.
Perfect.
Great. Well, thank you so
Well, you
much.
guys, we will leave all of that information in the show notes as well. So you can just click there and head over and give her a follow. Becca, this has been amazing. Thank you again. And friends, until next time.